Hello, my name is Đào Thị Phương Thảo. I come from Physics K66. My student number is 661113020. Today I'm very pleased to talk about Boyle laws. First, we come to about the objectives of this lesson. First, about knowledge. This lesson helps us find out the relationship between the volume and the pressure of a fixed amount of gas when the temperature is constant. The second is about the skills. In this lesson, the student will be introduced the way to investigate the relationship between the volume and the pressure of a fixed amount of gas when the temperature is constant. Next, the student will observe and measure variables, and they will know how to record the data in a successful way and know how to collect the data accurately. My teaching strategies is first, I check down the previous lesson, the content of gas molecular dynamics theory. Next, I will read the example which have issues that related to the content of today's lesson to the student. After that, I and my student will do experiment to investigate the relationship between the volume and the pressure of a fixed amount of gas when the temperature is constant. And finally, we will address the content of Boyle law. The key phase of the learning with experiment in my lesson is the first phase is called that is list the problem. In this way, the teacher will check out the previous lesson, the content of gas molecular dynamics theory, and after that, the teacher gives to the student the example which have issues that related to the content of today's lesson, Boyle law. And after that, the teacher will ask the student to use the gas molecular dynamics theory they have learned in the previous lesson to predict the relationship between the pressure P and the volume V of a fixed amount of gas when the temperature is kept constant. In phase 1, the students are expected to express the issue after teacher giving the example, and they will using the gas molecular dynamics theory to explain how the pressure related to the volume for a fixed amount of gas when the temperature equal to constant. And after that, they will express the functions of apparatus and do experiment and record the data. After they collect data and have data table, they will draw the graph, and finally they can make conclusion about the relationship between the pressure and the volume of a fixed amount of gas when the temperature T are unchanged. The next phase of the learning with experiment is problem solving with experiment. In this way, the teacher activities give the problem to the student, how the volume and the pressure of a fixed amount of gas related to each other when the temperature is constant. What quantities should be measured in this experiment? How to measure them? After that, the teacher will introduce the apparatus of this experiment. Finally, the teacher gives the student the data table form of this experiment. Besides the teacher activities in phase 2, students have to know the aim of experiment. Investigate the relationship between the pressure P and the volume V of a fixed amount of gas when the T equal to constant. They have to know the experiment setup, and after that they do experiment to collect the data as much accurate as possible. After collecting data and having data table, they will use them to draw the graph and find out how P related to V when the temperature is unchanged. After this, I will show my presentation that I have done this experiment before.
We do the experiment to investigate the relationship between the pressure P and the volume V of the gas. First, let's see the experiment setup. The amount of gas we keep in a glass cylinder we call that cylinder 1. The upper part of the cylinder is connected with the manometer, and the lower cylinder is for color liquid. The liquid in this cylinder can change by a pump to another glass cylinder we call that glass cylinder 2, and some rubber pump. The head of the gas in cylinder 1 can be determined by a ruler fixed parallel with this. Now we do experiment. First, we read the value of pressure P0 in the manometer and the value of volume V0 by read the height of the gas in cylinder 1. Next, we will take the pump to shut the air in cylinder 1. This cylinder, so the pressure in this first we bring the
I'm sorry.
value of pressure P0 in the manometer and the value of volume V by reading the head of the gas. In state V, P0 equals
I'm so sorry. Give me some minutes.
now we do this 1.5 multiplied with 10 power 5 Pascal, and the head of V0 is 25 centimeter. Next, we will take the pump to squeeze the air in cylinder 2. So the pressure in the cylinder 1 change to the change of the volume gas. We read and write the coupled value P and V of gas in different places into the table data. Now we do another case. We rotate the egg pump. And now we read the couple value P and B. In this case, P equal to 1.1 multiplied with 10 power 5 Pascal. And the head of that is equal to 23 centimeters. Now we do another game. Where P equal to 1.2 minus 10 power 5 Pascal, and the head of gas is equal to 22 centimeters. Do it again. And we have E equal to 1.3 multiplied 10 power 5 Pascal, and the head graph is 20 centimeters. Another case. Equal to 1.35 multiplied with 10 power 5 Pascal, and the gas to 19 centimeters. From the next table, we can get the graph, so the relationship between P and B. After get the relationship between P and B from the data table, we can add Boyle law. We know that we should do experiment very slowly to keep the temperature T constant.
I'm sorry about I'm sorry because the video is very low fluently, so I'm so sorry.
Now we do the experiment.
And after doing experiment, I have my data table, P, H, and the product P multiply with 8. Why I measure 8? Because we know that the volume of the gas is directly proportional to the head of the gas. So we will measure H instead of measure V. And because of that, we have the product of P and H instead of a product of P and V. After collecting the data and have my data table, I have my graph. I draw my graph. We can see that the line in the graph show the relationship between P and S. Exactly, it shows the relationship between P and V too. We can see that the form of the line graph like the hyperbole line. So from this graph, we can see that the P and V are inversely proportional to each other, and from the data table we can see that the product P of P and H quite approximately be among the time we measure. The error of this experiment is smaller than 5%. So we can see that the P and the volume V is directly proportional, and the product of P and V is approximately equal to a constant. So after doing experiment, we move to phase 3, conclusion. In this activity, the teacher will ask the student to make conclusion and address the Boyle law. And the work of students make conclusion. From the result of experiment, have conclusion. At constant temperature, the product of the pressure P and the volume V of a certain amount of gas is a constant. Product of P and V, P multiplied with V equal to constant. And this is the content of Boyle law. This is my lesson that the way I will teach the Boyle law in physics book of grade 10. Thanks for watching and listening. Thank you very much.